All right, welcome to the second talk today here. We have Ramon from Germany, and he will have a talk about the JSON API and the add-on that he wrote, and how to use this for modern web applications. For that, please have a warm welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, and welcome everybody. Thank you for being here and listening to my talk. My name is Ramon. My company is called Riding Bytes. Since we have another Ramon here, maybe some of you know me from the IRC. I'm Ramonski. Yeah, the other one is Blood Bear, so not to get confused. I'm a Plone developer since 2004, and the name of my talk is called Using a Plone JSON API to Interface Modern Web Applications. This talk was actually planned as a demo, so I wanted to show you just this little web application. But then I was asked to extend the talk to a long talk, so you have to go with me back in time. So I will start with the backend and introduce you Plone JSON API core and Plone JSON API routes, which is a JSON interface before Plone REST API came out. And then I'm going over to the front-end part, and then I will demo the web application I wrote for you. So, Plone JSON API core, everything started in 2012. So, have you ever dreamed to have an application that communicates with Plone, like a fancy app on your phone or a tablet? Or maybe you were playing around with one of these modern web frameworks that were out there and wanted to have them interfaced with Plone. Then probably you felt like me a couple of years ago, where I was fascinated by the frameworks that came out these days and the modern web applications that could be built on top of JSON interfaces. So this was 2012. That was some time ago, a long time in terms of technical speaking. And if I can show you, there was these days Plone 4 out, which had the only interface was something called the Web Services API for Plone. So this was in 2011, or the end of, that was an XML RPC interface these days. So that was the only possibility to get the contents from Plone in some kind of neutral way. But I was already playing around these days with Flask, and yeah, this is the PyPy page from Flask. And as you can see, Flask is fun, and I had no fun these days developing Plone. Plone seemed to me clumsy, obsolete. It was something that was not modern. I came from backend, but I wanted to do more front-end. I wanted to do snappy apps, and I couldn't do it. So what I did then is to think about a way to have the same interface like Flask provided. So, and I named this package Plone JSON API core. That was the first draft of my own API. So what might sound like a real complex piece of code is at the bottom line just a browser view, and the browser view is registered on at API. But it is capable to traverse subpaths. Just keep in mind, Plone is content-centric. So you type in a URL and you will end up by a content. That is path traversal. So you end at the content you see. But the concept of this API is to take this path and hand it over to the view. So like we have the API view and pass in hello world. So this will not traverse to a content in Plone, but it will hand over this /hello/world path as a subpath to the browser view. So indeed, instead of traversing to the content, it maps this subpath to an endpoint. And I'm using the same like Flask, Werkzeug routing. It's a really cool name because in German, this is a German word for tool. And it's really a cool library which is integrated also in Flask to provide this the route mappings. And I used the same to have something like this. So this is a code snippet how you can register a simple view endpoint in Plone using Plone JSON API core. So we add a route called hello, and we get another path segment which is passed as the first parameter to a function called hello, which is below. And it simply returns a dictionary, which is transformed by JSON API core into a JSON response. So let's have a try. I hope, oops. I'm sorry. Can I just like... damn. Give me a second. I want to click. Yeah, I have to do it like this. So I'm calling this endpoint. As you can see, here it is the API view, and I'm passing hello PloneConf. And it returns a JSON where hello PloneConf is in, or hello world. Oops. So it returns. And the runtime here is in seconds. So you can see it is fast, because we don't have to traverse any path. It will just hit the view and will immediately return. It will map to the endpoint and return the result. So I thought that's cool. That will give me all the freedom to add my own functions and expose some data to JSON. So what is this endpoint mapping all about? Basically, it is only, you have a rule, and this maps to an endpoint. That's just a string. So this rule maps to hello. So the subpath names to this endpoint, and the endpoint, shit. I'm sorry for that. I can remember days where Macs were just like easy to go with presentations, but nowadays something changed. Here we go. One more time. Here we go, yeah. So the endpoint is registered for view functions. There we see this function gets called with the context and the request. And since the API view is usually registered on the portal, so we get the context is the portal object, and the request is that what the user requested from you. So you have to do, if you want to return the content, you have to search the content and expose it. So yeah, I thought now step one was done. I have an easy way to register functions and expose JSON somehow. Why not go further and build something on top of it that supports all the Plone standard types and maybe even custom content types? So I started to code on something a package called Plone JSON API.routes, which allowed me to have a RESTful API to Plone standard content types, to create a document, to edit a document, for instance, delete it, cut, copy, paste it, whatsoever I wanted to do. So yeah, how cool would that be? So I started with a set of root providers on top of Plone JSON API core. So I named the base path is Plone API 1.0, and then you have a resource. And a resource is just the content type. So you say resource is document or event. And then you get the JSON representation, schema introspection, and you get the full content type exposed as JSON back into the browser. So it supports basic CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete, on basically any content. Because the C publisher is limited, or was limited these days, to just get post, I mapped all the writing operations to post, because I had no put and no delete requests. That was grabbed by the C publisher directly. But it is really simple to test, because with the GET request you can test around your web browser, and it is almost like an own UI on top of Plone. The concept was to be as fast as possible, to return contents quickly, not wake them up until the user really wants it. I decided, or I created a two-step architecture. Step one is to search for the content and return only the schema information from catalog brains. Step two is to wake up the full object and return full object schema. And this is how it looks like. Step one, I just say resource folder. On the Plone JSON API REST side, I say, okay, this guy wants a folder. So I'm searching with the catalog for all folders and return all the brain information back to the user. Step two is to fetch the resource, but when do I know that the user really wants the resource? And I say /folder and /uit, for instance, to get the full information of just this folder. And the uit comes from step one, because it is exposed by the catalog brain. Or I can say just /uit, which will, the uits are unique, Plone-wide, so it will return the full object. Or even if I say, okay, I want the listing, but I want to have the full objects, I even can pass a request parameter, and I can do so as well for folderish contents for all the children. So I get the full object set, but obvious it is then a little bit slower. It supports all the catalog indexes, so when you say, okay, I want the folder with the ID to-dos, yeah, I can do so by simply using the ID index, the get ID index. Or if, like in this example, I'm passing in the sort on index, and I say, okay, sort on created, or get object position in parent maybe. Or I can use the searchable text, which is really a nice feature. I will show you in a moment later as a demo what is possible with that. Or even I can do something weird like this. These are the C publisher request constructs where I can pass in the start date of an event, say, okay, starting from there. Or even if I have a custom content type, it is supported out of the box. This just works on as a generic API. So I want to show how this looks like in the browser. If my browser is still there somewhere. Here we go. I have to find. So here we go. As you can see, is it possible to you to see that in the back? Okay, I'm zooming in. So yeah, here, Plone JSON API core view. Then, yeah, this piece in between, which is pretty just like an identifier to route to JSON API routes. And I say, hey, give me all documents. And here, I get one result back. The page size is 25. Pagination is supported. And then you see all the information which comes from the brain. And here again, the runtime that are in seconds, so to get this content. So let's wake it up. So step 2 is, let's go to the API URL, click, and now the object is waked up. Now I have the full object information, like I have the text and some other information which are only available on the object itself. Or, now it's going over here. That's more difficult than expected. So I have the document route. I skipped this because we have at the moment just one. I can also say, hey, give me all events. And I will show it to you because at here, in this items dict, we have 3 events now. They are returned in 0.05 seconds. So let's pass in a request parameter. For instance, we say I want a limit of 1. So it will have the items returned by 1, and then you get this next URL. You can click, and then you have the second. You are on page 2. Yeah, and then we go over here, and then we are on page 3. So so you have pagination directly available. Or, for instance, oops, that is really more. For instance, collections are also supported. We will wake up a collection, and this really looks funny because here you have the query which is available in this collection. And of course, you can also go up the URL. So this one lives in this collection lives in a folder. So now I'm here in the folder where this collection lives. And for instance, I can also say then, children equals yes. So here I have the children, and it will return the full objects which are contained in this folder, and also the collection, which is this, which happens to be this item. So that is Plone JSON API routes. Browser demo. So now you may ask, okay, I have this really a content type that behaves different. So Plone JSON API routes is built to be extended. When the request hits Plone, at API view, it will get dispatched, and it will say, okay, the user wants to have this content type, for instance, my content type. So there is this data provider which is which you can implement for your own content type, and then return your own dictionary. For instance, you can make a schema introspection, return the full schema, and a little bit of extra information. Then you have something like a data manager. This is to set and get the data from this content type. So again, you can have a more specific adapter for your type, and you just have to implement get and set, and then you have the content type, and you say get the title, yeah, and then you can return it as a JSON serializable value. So This is also possible. And even you can go further. There's something like a field manager. So when you have a real special field like a records field and you have to handle it especially, then you can override or create an own adapter for your field and have a field manager to get and set the value which I post. So this is also possible. There's also a catalog adapter to search and even a catalog query which you can override. So SOAP component architecture is a basic concept of the API, of the JSON API, of my JSON API, because nowadays, not to be confused with the REST API, which came afterwards, yeah, but these are the concepts of this API. Now, the interesting part, maybe the part for what you are here. I built for you a little to-do app on top of Plone JSON API routes to demonstrate you how this can be used, how Plone JSON API routes can be used to build a simple application. And I decided to not create our own content type, but to use documents. So every one of you knows Plone document. It takes several clicks to add them in Plone. And I said, okay, my to-do item is a document, and in the title there is what I want to do. And the description will be, yeah, some kind of additional description for my to-do item. So, app demo, I hope this works. Here we go. Again, browser. So, this is Plone 5. The Plone JSON API routes works with Plone 4 and Plone 5, but Plone 5, yeah, it's special, but it needs to get more integrated in Plone 5. But anyhow, we can use it. I have this to-dos app, and there it says what needs to be done. So cursors in. Hold a Plone conf talk, enter. So this, what happened now? I typed in a to-do title and hit enter, and then something happened. And this something is, when I go over here, hold a Plone conf talk. So in the to-dos folder, I added a new to-do. I said, have breakfast, do more stuff, and I can just like to demonstrate how quick it goes. Add some more, and I refresh this folder. Yeah, and then I have just like created some documents, which is cool. So hold a Plone conf talk. Obviously, I sorted here differently than Plone, so always the newest ones are on top. I say, okay, I don't want to have these. Go back, reload, then I just have wiped them out. So, and then I thought, okay, how to mark a content as done, and then I used simply the review state of this document. So I decided, okay, a to-do item is active when it is published, and when it's done, I can click here, click. Then the workflow state has changed. Go back, so the do more stuff, I will reload. Do more stuff, it is like, it is a little bit invisible, but the state has changed. Maybe this one is better. Do more stuff, and I said, oh, no, maybe not. I will go back, reload. So it is published. Kind of cool. This allows me to really add quickly A, B, C, D, E, O. to add quickly contents to Plone. Oh, no, of course, this is not there anymore, so to-dos. So here we go. And even I can like go down there and do something cool. And have an additional text here. So we are going to delete the rest, just like to just see this one. Go back here, go to the to-dos. So as you can see, Plone can be fast, real fast. So and this is something, I really like to have, and that was the reason why I started to have something like this API. Click App Demo. What I used for this is a framework called Backbone. This is already integrated in Plone 5. I've seen it. And I will just show you quickly two concepts of Backbone. That's a JavaScript framework where you can build applications like this. So Backbone expects a REST API, a REST URLs to create, update, delete contents. So I will quickly go through with you to how to create a model and a collection. So a collection is a kind of list which will hold the to-do items which I describe in a to-do model. So this is the boilerplate, how to create a Backbone application. Because we are on, or because I'm on here on Plone 4.5, I don't have put, post, delete requests. I have to do emulate HTTP, so these information will come with a request header, but the API is capable to parse that out and do the right thing. Even if I say post and in the HTTP header there is, oh hey, that's an delete actually, then the JSON API routes knows, okay, this user wants to delete and not to update the object. But maybe this will change with when Plone REST API is completely integrated, then we can make use of put delete requests as well. This is like how such a to-do model looks like. This is CoffeeScript, by the way. This compiles to JavaScript. I don't know if you know that. So it's a little bit more easy JavaScript. Yeah, you have a Backbone model here, and the only thing you need to do is to specify the URL route, and there you see, hey, that's the Plone JSON API core route, and then document. Some same defaults, for instance, the parent path I specified as Plone to-dos because I only want to have my to-dos in this to-dos folder. I'm able to have a toggle state which will do an HTTP post to this document resource and pass in a transition. And the transition is comes from here. So if it is private, we say, okay, it needs to be published. If it is already published, I think I make it private again. So that is the functionality where you can mark a to-do as, okay, this is done. And the collection, that is the list which holds all my to-do items, to-do models. Quite easy. I say, okay, please get the documents route, and there you see I'm using here the path, a path index. So it says, okay, give me all documents from the Plone to-dos folder, and I'm just interested in the first level of it, and please sort it on created. Since the items are returned by the API in the items key as a list, I have to do this dance here as well. So I say, hey, the to-do models come from the items list. And I will show it to you how it looks like. So here we are. Where's our to-do app here? So this is now. Is this visible? So app. So that's my app, and I have app.todos. So obviously we have just now one to-do item in there. Length. So there's one. I can also say to JSON, which will return the JSON representation of this to-do item, and there we see that what I've shown you before, which is also returned by the browser for a specific document. So there is some creators array, you have a description here, we have the effective date when it expires, and all the stuff you know when you code Plone. So let's go over here. So we just have one that is nice. So let's get the first item. So my model is app.todos first. So I have this model now in my head, model. And now I can say set, and I pass in a new title, title, like this comes from the JS console. Click. So changed, but no request yet done. So I have to do a model.save. So and then it will be posted, and then it should be, if everything worked, something to do. This comes from the JS console. So this allows you, or could allow you, to have a complete offline application where you can add contents as you want, and when you have your connection back, then it syncs with the server, and suddenly all the contents are there. Might be a possible use case, for instance, for an offline iPhone application, which can use this. So yeah, and the next thing is more apps. Yeah, I have some more prepared for you. So I did, this is also a couple of years ago now already. This is, that's an Electron app. So this works basically for Windows, or this should run on Windows, Linux, whatever you want. The framework is XJS, and it is using the JSON API, which I showed you before. So you have the possibility to log in. So admin. So now you are logged in, and it is the same site we have just seen. So here you see the Plone contents. Let's search for this comes. This comes here. This one. Here we go. We can also open it in Explorer. So that's in to do. This comes from JS console, and now here we also have the possibility to, for instance, reject. Done. Let's have a look back into, here we go. So that was published. Okay, obviously this, yeah, should work, yeah, but however, this, oh yeah, to do this, oh yeah, private, to do item. Oh yeah, I have to, oh, thanks. That's it, yeah, but I'm confused. State private. Works. So yeah, this is possible. And as I told you before, with the searchable text, you probably know this small search box on the top right corner of Plone, which allows you to do live search. This was really cool these days in 2004 maybe. But now it could be also that we have something like this. This is, by the way, a topping of bicalims on Bootstrap. Actually, this is Plone, yeah. And here we have this possibility to do a live search in Plone. So we have something like a setup, yeah, and then we can even, you don't see it, but I can, with the arrow keys of my keyboard, I can navigate the results, press enter, and it will go to this content. So a complete new way how to navigate in Plone. Control space, go back, and maybe I want to go to the Happy Hills customer. So again, this is a way how to make Plone fast and modern and more appealing to people that come. And here the whole search thing is built with Backbone, HTO. So it is fast, and we can have, yeah, modern applications built on top of it. What else can be done? One of my visions I have for this is a way to import and export, or maybe migrate to Plone sites. I mean, how cool would it be if you have a control panel applet where you can add a URL of a Plone site which ships with Plone JSON API routes, and then you hit the migrate button, and then this migration goes, fetches the contents from the other Plone site, and migrates it. Because I have all the information, I even can set the creator date or the creator, or when I do it in the right when I do it in the right order, I can also resolve relation fields. Yeah, this is all possible with it. Offline editing, I told you already, it would be cool. A smartphone. So just when you think on the a lab use case, someone wants to sample something and has his iPhone with him. Yeah, that's a whole computer. You have a camera, you have everything, and then you take somewhere a sample, gather some results on this, and you are in the middle of the jungle where you have no internet. So you come back into a city where you have internet, and then it gets synced to Plone. So new use cases, just like with an API. That can be all done, and I want to say thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Ron.